Welcome into the show covering NHL picks for Wednesday, November 22nd. Now, after a strange day of no hockey on Tuesday, the NHL goes overboard on Wednesday with 14 games. I'm hoping not to go a little too overboard myself with 3 parlays covering 8 of those games. Let's get into it, and it starts off with New Jersey and Detroit for me. Now, if you did nothing else besides betting New Jersey games to go over the total this season, you'd be doing pretty well for yourselves as they're 13-3 to the over, and that's the highest rate in the league, going over their totals at 81.3% of the time. Detroit, though, too, are 11-6 to the over, and that's the 5th highest rate. Now, how does that translate over to the scoring props that I like to target in the NHL? Well, they are 15-1 to both teams to score 2 and 11-5 to both teams to score 3. That being New Jersey. The Red Wings have allowed 2 or more goals in every game this season, but 1 and in every one of their past 14 as well. But they're still scoring goals with both teams to score 2 on a 6-0 run for them. Now, these two teams are actually among the highest scoring in the league, with New Jersey being 6th and Detroit 7th in goals per game. New Jersey is also 3rd in high danger scoring chances. I think this looks like we should see plenty of goals. Let's go both teams to score 2 or more goals between the Devils and the Red Wings. And we'll pair that up with one other game to also go both teams to score 2 or more, and it's Boston and Florida. The Panthers are 5th in XG. They're 1st in shots. They've scored 2 or more goals in 16 straight, 3 or more goals in 6 of 7, and they've also won 7 straight games. Boston lost 5-4 to Tampa Bay last game, but they did maintain a streak that's seen them score at least 2 goals in every game this season, as well as 3 or more goals in all but 1. Both teams to score 2 is on a 9-0 run for them. It was 3-2 in overtime in Boston when these teams met earlier this season. Let's look for a similar result and go both teams to score 2. Parlay those two games together, and we can get almost even money at -103 over at DraftKings. So before I get into the second parlay, if you're liking these NHL picks, be sure to give the video a like, drop me a comment in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more picks all season long. Now, the second parlay is going to Winnipeg and Tampa Bay. Now, you may not consider the Jets to be one of the higher scoring teams in the league, but they're actually 5th in goals per game this season. And playing the Lightning, who are 8th in goals per game, this looks like it could be an exciting matchup on Wednesday. Tampa Bay are 6th in shots. They're 2nd in XG. They're 2nd worst in XGA. They've given up the 4th most shots, and they're 3rd worst in high danger scoring chances against. Tampa Bay has won 3 straight, 5-4, 6-4, and 4-2, but they've also allowed 2 or more goals in 11 straight games. Winnipeg has won 3 straight games themselves, and they've also won 6 of 7. They've scored 3 or more goals in 6 of 7, and 2 or more in all but 1 game this season. Both teams to score 2. That prop is on a 10-0 run for the Jets. Let's hope it continues here. We'll go both teams to score 2 with the Jets and the Lightning. Next, it's the Oilers and the Panthers. Edmonton is 7th in shots this season. They're 6th in XG. They're 23rd in XGA, and they're 2nd in high danger scoring chances. Carolina is 8th in shots, and they're 10th in high danger scoring chances. The Oilers' last 3 games have all seen both teams scoring at least 3 or more goals. They themselves have scored 2 or more goals in 10 straight games. Carolina, meanwhile, has scored 2 or more goals in 5 of their last 6. Once again, this looks like another game where we should see at least 2 goals from both teams. And we're actually going to make a 3-game parlay here with another both teams to score 2. And while the last game was 2 pretty decent teams with Oilers and Carolina, even though Edmonton's been underperforming so far, this last one looks like an ugly one. It's Chicago and Columbus. Columbus has lost 9 straight and 13 of 14. Chicago has lost 4 straight themselves. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been scoring in these games, despite these teams both being bottom 6 in goals per game. Or maybe it just makes more sense to look at it from a goals against standpoint. Columbus are 29th in goals allowed this season, while Chicago are 18th. From a shot standpoint, Columbus are actually 5th in shots, but also 30th in shots against. Both teams are bottom 8 in XGA. Columbus are 5th in high danger scoring chances, but they're the 4th worst team in high danger scoring chances allowed. Chicago, too, are 9th worst in that category, giving up plenty of high danger scoring chances. Now, what does that all look like from our scoring props? Well, basically, both teams are giving up boatloads of chances and also getting enough goals themselves to hit that both teams to score 2 prop. Now, when it comes to Columbus especially, they're basically creating just as many scoring chances as they're allowing. Both teams to score 2 is 8-0 in recent Columbus games. It's 7-0 in recent Chicago games. We'll go both teams to score 2 in that game as well. Parlay those 3 together to get plus 167 odds. And finally, I have one more parlay. We're moving into the night games on Wednesday, starting with Calgary and Nashville. To me, these are 2 underrated both teams to score 2 teams in my opinion, when you consider that Nashville have scored 2 or more goals in all but one game this season. So even though they're not among one of the higher scoring teams in the NHL, they're still getting at least a couple every night, and usually maybe even more. Both teams to score 2 is also on an 11-0 run for Nashville. Calgary has failed to score 2 or more just 4 times this season themselves, but they have done so in 9 of their last 10 games. But they've also allowed 2 or more goals in 9 of those past 10 games as well. You can get an okay price just for one of these teams to score at least 2 goals just by themselves. Nashville being at home, Calgary's given up 2 goals in almost every game this season. Let's go over 1.5 with Nashville just to kick off this parlay. And then we'll go right back into our both teams to score 2 props, going with Vancouver and Colorado. It's the first highest scoring team, maybe the 3rd highest scoring team here. The Canucks have still scored 2 or more goals in every game this season. And before beating San Jose 3-1, the worst team in the league, bets on both teams to score 2, was on a 7-0 run in their games. So even though they've been scoring, they've also been giving up goals lately. Colorado, they just lost 4-3 to Nashville in their last game, but they have won 3 of 4, and they've scored 3 or more goals in 6 of 7. Bets on both teams to score 2 is also 6-1 in those 7 games. We'll do that prop for Vancouver and Colorado, and we'll round this out with Montreal and Anaheim. Now, this game concerns me just a little bit, and it's because the Ducks have lost 3 straight games, and they've only scored 1 and 2 goals in those games. So this is more of a play on Montreal, and that play is, I'm sure you've guessed it, both teams to get 2 or more goals in this game. And that is because only one time this season have Montreal failed to score at least 2 goals. There's also only been one time this season where they've allowed fewer than 2 goals. That makes both teams to score 2, 16-2 in Canadiens games this season. So why try to be fancy? Just look at what's been working, and there seems to be at least 2 goals coming from both teams in every Montreal game. But you can also look at it from a shots allowed standpoint from both. So even though the Ducks might not be scoring, let's look at the shots allowed that both of these teams give up. And Anaheim is 26th in shots allowed, which is certainly not great. But Montreal is actually worse. They're actually only better than San Jose, ranking 31st in shots allowed. So even though the Ducks haven't been scoring lately, Montreal should be giving up plenty of chances for the Ducks to get at least 2 at home. Montreal is also 26th in high danger scoring chances against. So let's follow this trend in Canadiens games and go both teams to score at least 2 there. Those 3 games will come in on the parlay price at plus 122. So there we go. Lots of NHL stats and picks for you to consider in your bets on Wednesday. Let me know what you like. Do you like these picks? What do you think of this both teams to score 2 prop? Have you been betting it? It's been doing great for me. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Give this video a like, and good luck with all of your Wednesday NHL picks.